Hi guys, welcome to the Atlas Masterclass. I'm Charlie and this is Steve, and today we're going to show you how to cook the perfect steak. So the method I'm going to do is more turning the steak as you grill it to actually sort of get a nice even color around the steak. This method I find gives a beautiful sort of crust to the outside, and then the method Steve's going to take is?
I'm going to go for more of like a bistro steakhouse style where you get the diamond lines on there, just turning it less times, 4 times only, and then resting it out.
Excellent. So we've got the steak here. So what's the first step?
Before we're doing anything, we've got the steaks out to room temperature, so they'll cook faster and they'll not retract in, so the muscle's already relaxed. And then we're going to oil the steaks and season the steaks instead of ever oiling the pan.
So that's a really good point Steve just made. So whenever you're cooking something like a protein, you want to cook it from room temperature. So instead of if you cook it from fridge cold, so you get the centers freezing cold and then the outside, sort of room temperature will cook really inconsistently, where if everything's at a great temperature, it's going to make it just such a difference. So let's get them oiled.
Yep.
And a bit of salt as well, and then we'll be ready to start the cooking process.
Yep, sounds good.
So just brushing that on top. So I'll grab this one.
Salt, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I do mine, I just I salt the side I've got standing up, and then I will, as I'm moving it around, once I flip it, then I'll salt the other side. So now I'm just going to keep rotating my steak around to get a nice even colour on the whole steak, where Steve's just got, he's just sitting there really nicely, getting a beautiful grill marks on top of it. So Steve's rotated here, and now it's time for me to give mine a flip. So I'm pretty happy. So it's fairly nicely even colour on there, getting a bit of a, a couple of black pieces as well, which is good. And now I'm just going to keep that rotation going, so then I can be sure to get a nice even colour on the other side, and then we'll be ready to rest it.
Right, so I'm just about to flip mine. So I've gone one way, the other way, and now just turning over. So like you can see, I've got the diamond lines on there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that again, once, twice, off and rest.
Excellent. So the big difference here is you can see how mine's got a nice sort of even colour, but this has a diamond line. And it really does make a difference when you're eating the steak.
Yes.
They serve a different purpose, and it's cool to we can touch on that in a minute, why we don't both cook our steaks differently. So now we're going to take our steaks off. So I'm really happy with that colour. So the side that wasn't on the grill most recently, so the colder side, is going to be facing down while we rest it. Or alternatively, you could use a rack, which will mean you probably don't have to do this because the heat will be able to sort of go away from the steak. And we'll rest that now for how long do you reckon?
I always go half the time of what I've cooked it at least.
Yep.
So if you've cooked for 5 minutes, at least 3, usually.
So we'll rest that up nicely, and then you can either heat them back up and just give them a quick sear again, or you can basically just, slice it up and enjoy. So let's come back in a few minutes. Now we've been resting for a few minutes. So we've got our steaks. So they're really nice, it's feeling perfect. So we're just going to slice them up, have a bit of a taste there. So you can see that's beautifully rested. So mine's sort of rare to medium rare.
Yep.
Looks beautiful. How's yours cooked up?
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Just on medium rare.
Medium rare, excellent. So we've got the two differences with these steaks are, my one, you've got a sort of that, you can see that colour there. So it's, cooked nicely through, quite even on both sides. So it's important that when you're cooking a steak to cook it evenly on both sides. So you'll find the ring around it is actually the same. And then you've got that beautiful sort of crust and crunch of mine. So the way that if I was to serve this steak, I would cook it this way if I was going to just serve it as a steak on its own for people to enjoy. Where the way that Steve's cooked it, you'd probably more cook it like that way if you're going to cover it in some compound butter or a sauce. Yep. So, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, like you say, I like the good char and the crust if you're just going to have it as a steak. Don't have to be beef, like you say, pork, anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're going to go for that version, I'd always, a compound butter, a good sauce.
Yeah.
And then with either steak, though, always finishing with a little more salt.
Yep.
And if you want pepper. I don't like the pepper myself, but I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, this is very much a sort of French technique, covering, beautiful grilled piece of meat in more sauce, more fat, more butter, all that sort of stuff. Where this way, I think, if you've got a beautiful, perfect piece of meat like this, great quality, just cooked really nicely, moving it as you go, getting that even cook, I think that is the star of the show if you're going to serve it as it is.